about it.
Never.
It's gonna be so damn relaxed, it's crazy. And you know what's very exciting and monumental? Is that
What?
I've saved my very last Kirkland brand seltzer water for this very occasion.
How are those?
They're not bad. I think they're not like the greatest thing in the world. They're not the best seltzer, but damn, are they a good price. And man, do I just love an excuse to go to Costco. A huge fan of the salty, spicy mix, personally. I think it's delicious.
Is that a nut mix or a
It is. It's like a dried salted nut mix that's yeah, oh damn, it's just so tasty. It's got like fried kernels in there that are really tasty and like covered pretzel bits and whole pecans that are just dusted in some kind of like a delicious umami spice mix.
oh yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful. But hey, we're not here to talk about seltzer. We're here to talk about Juggalo Family Values, our documentary that we've been premiering on YouTube. Whoop whoop. My name is Dan. And that right there is
I'm Deanna.
Deanna. Let's just start out. I'd love to hear. I think the most excitement that we got yesterday was out of this painting. People were extraordinarily interested in what you were working on. It looks like there's been a lot of progress since then. Can you kind of walk us through what we're working on here?
Yeah, this is a juggalo or juggalette that I met at the gathering. Was it 2023, the first one?
This would have been
Um,
2023. Yeah.
um, and we were working part of the for the documentary. We wanted to get some of just the style and the artistic vibe that people bring to the gathering. So I stopped her and asked to take her photograph. So I'm going to be working on an oil painting from that photograph. Right now we have the basic colored pencil outline of it, and I've started to put in some of the darker tones in the background, and we're just going to be finishing that bad boy up to a good degree today.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Whoa. Let's get it started. I would love to see. Are you going to start out with some oil paints?
Yep, we're going to be doing oil painting today.
Oh, fantastic. I've never experimented with it myself. It always seems very like permanent in nature. It seems like not, like everything else, it feels like you can go back and sort of fix it. But with oil paints, it feels like it's very like intensely on there.
Oh, it's like the opposite. Honestly, it's like it's a little willy-nilly. You can
Oh, really?
always go back over any of it, and um it's blendable hours later depending on what kind of solvent or additive you use to it. So you can play with it a lot. I feel like acrylic painting, it dries so quickly you can't really make a mistake and just oops it and get rid of it as easily. So this is just some terpenoid and some linseed oil that we're going to be using today as a medium.
What is a terpenoid?
It's a solvent, so it will dilute it a little bit, like an alcohol-based solvent. And then linseed oil is going to be the fat in the mixture
Oh,
that you
cool.
add to it's like cooking.
There's fat in the mix.
I
Well, then how can it not be successful? Huge fan of fat myself.
think it'll be fun.
Aw. How many such photos did you end up getting at the gathering? Oh, we've got Trailer Park back.
Hi, Trailer Park. How are you?
So good to have Trailer Park back. Really enjoyed. I think that was like the highlight of yesterday of being like, wait, I know him. I know Trailer Park indeed.
Yeah, we both talked about it afterwards. Like that was
Yeah.
our favorite.
We were super excited about it this morning. Trailer Park, as you can see, we've made good progress on that painting coming along now. Deanna was just explaining that she's going to be putting on some oil paint onto it. And this, of course, being a photo that Deanna took at the gathering of the Juggalos. since Deanna is, of course, a master of wandering around and taking photos of just gorgeous people.
Yeah, I love finding the hotties.
It should honestly be your job is just scoping the hotties. I don't know how you end up getting paid for that, but
I mean, I kind of gave myself that job while we were there. Um, I'm happy with it. I don't care if I'm ever paid for that labor. I will do it gladly.
yeah, exactly. I do it for the love of the game. Oh, Trailer Park asks, are you filming a doc at the Gathering of the Juggalos? Yes, indeed, Trailer Park. We've actually been filming there for about 3 years. I personally started in 2022, the first time that I went to the Gathering, and was not expecting to at all, genuinely. Like, I thought I was just going to go and check it out and see what it was all about. But the second I got in there, I was like, oh, I can't stop filming things. Every time that you turn around, there's just something there that's like incredible that's happening. Um, and the absolute highlight of the first night that I was there was that I watched someone shove a rubber duck up their own ass from about like 4.5 feet away. It was incredible, honestly. It was like a life changing experience. And from there, I was just like, oh, yeah, definitely this place needs to be documented. So, yes, we have been working on a documentary there. That has been the clips that we've been posting to YouTube Shorts, have been little snippets of the documentary. We have it broken up into chapters. So we currently have four, and we've just sort of been posting those chapters as they go. So that's been the shorts so far. If you want to, we can actually take a look at some clips. Got some
Yes,
clips lined up.
please.
Who doesn't love them clips? Um, this dude was one of my favorite. He was a guy that we saw there, and immediately I think Deanna and I were both like, we need to talk to him right now, and definitely didn't disappoint. So let our boy Blue talk it through.
It's my boy Fred though.
Hi,
He
Fred.
gonna stay with me. Oh, he does light up, but at night. But I forgot the damn charger. My Juggalo name is dead, but my real name is Quan, and I'm from Georgia. Deep South is like Nichols, Georgia. We only got one red light, bro. I never heard of ICP or Juggalo until this year. Positivity that they have and the friendship, you know. Not Juggalos don't really be up into no negative shit, if you ask me anyways. It's my boy Fred though.
I love him so much. He's one of my absolute favorites.
I love him too. I didn't hear it on my end.
Oh, did you not catch that?
No, it
It's
doesn't
probably
come.
because it doesn't go through the chat.
Okay.
Might be.
No.
Yeah, he was just like an absolutely fantastic individual. What I really enjoyed about talking to him was that he was very young, like I think that ICP is the knack that's been around for a while. And so like, there tends to be like a more mature audience that is there. But this was somebody that was drawn to this just by like, I was a friend of his that was like, hey, I see the way that you dress and I see the way that you are and the way that you act. I think that you would be a good fit at the Gathering of the Juggalos. And like he came through and just absolutely was like a wrecking ball in the place. As you can see later that day, our good buddy Kirk, always shout out to Captain Kirk, who is at Camp Buy My Weed. You can find him there pulling all sorts of hijinks. He came around to Deanna and myself and was like, hey, you really need to talk to this guy. So here's a little section of Kirk.
Remember your dude I told you about, my boy Blue? He lived the best gathering life this year. This dude got into the second center of the pit on somebody's shoulders going around this pit. He was the first guy I seen boof anything.
I started bleeding, and when I was in the mosh pit, that was my goal. The head, some motherfucker came through and hit it with their elbow. But yeah, I ain't never fall. I ain't got over this fucking gate about 4 times. Crowd surfing over the gate. But what you say?
Remember your dude?
Absolutely adore him. I mean, honestly,
Awesome.
that's kind of like the beauty of going to the gathering too, Deanna. I don't know whether or not you find this as well, but like you see people at the very beginning of the week and you're like, oh man, that's sort of like a standout character. Like that's somebody that you immediately recognize and you're like, I know them. And then throughout the week, like basically you watch that person become a rock star. Like we basically did that with Mystic the first year, where it was like, oh, toward like at the beginning, I think we interviewed him on like day 2 of the fest, and then after that, it was like I mean, like he was like riding around on a golf cart with clown vests, like and having like the time of his life.
For sure. And I think people also celebrate each other a lot there. So you would have somebody like someone like Mystic who he's coming up with a different costume and a completely different character every day. And it would range, I think he had a Crayola character one day and like a name and a full built out story for each of them. Um, and over time, as the festival would go on, people would be like, "What's your character today?"
I'm gonna pull up his clip now, actually. Where is he at?
He was such a kind soul,
A
and it was
sweet
really
angel,
interesting to getting to hear his backstory.
for sure. Let's see here. All right, cool. This was our intro to Mystic, actually. This is the very first time we met him. Is the very first time we sat down with him, and the very first thing that he said in the chair with us, and what ended up being like an absolutely incredible interview. All right, so what's your name and where are you from?
I am Mystic, and I'm from wherever the wind takes me.
I have seen you, so I saw you the other day. Assuming today you're in a different character.
This character is Montana Black, rock star, selling his soul, trying to like gain it back. Kind of like my pet here. My pet is his conscious here. You know, this is his conscious.
All right, so love
Yeah,
him.
Conscience. I forgot he had named the little owl guy Conscience.
Exactly. It was like his like aura and being that was he was carrying around. Let's see. From Trailer Park, I think a lot of people may assume juggalos must be aging in their 40s and 50s, but it's always an influx of young juggalos under 25. I agree. It to me, I think speaks to the power of something that is there that continues to speak to new generations of people. You know, there are like a lot of acts and a lot of groups that don't have that kind of power where they continue like the music and the message continues to talk to new people that are coming up. I think because the world changes, Deanna,
I
but
mean,
those messages
why
continue to
is
be the
that?
same. I
Trailer
don't
Park, what do you have an idea of what is bringing the younger people back into the mix of it? Because I do find it really interesting. I feel like the outside associations with ICP can be so a lot of people just don't understand what or why people would get into that or I was talking on TikTok yesterday about coming on here to do the live and there were some people who they only know me for painting on there and they seemed like absolutely shocked that I went in the first place. And as I was talking about in all the really lovely, genuine, kind-hearted interactions that I had with people at the gathering, um, I could tell that the outside understanding of it was probably skewed mostly to just it being completely cuckoo bananas. And somebody did ask, can you go to the gathering if you're not a juggalo? Can you go to the gathering if you aren't the biggest fan of the music? It sounds really fun from the way that you're describing it. And I wasn't sugarcoating it either. It's like they're gonna ask to see your butthole. We did get sprayed in the mouth with piss. Like there are aspects of it that I wouldn't say everyone would enjoy it there, but the people who do fuck with it would love it. And I told them that when I was initially getting there, I was really nervous to interview people and, you know, trying to study up on the music and make sure I knew everything. And I just can't absorb even proper nouns into my brain for most of the time. And Bloody was like, it really doesn't matter. Like if you're here and you're kind and you're happy to be here, like you are a juggalo.
exactly. That's what I always stick with. Can we go back? Did you not enjoy getting a super soaker full of piss to the face?
I was really happy you had an extra LaCroix to wash this off with.
Just for some
We walked away
background.
from that and you go, yeah, that was piss.
Yeah, it's confirmed. Piss. Yeah, we were walking. It was actually we were walking to interview Mystic, and I had agreed to meet him over in like a quieter area of the campground. And we were walking along like the main thoroughfare there by the big rock, and all of a sudden this guy like jumps up and like sprays us both in the face and like laughs. And then we were both like, whoa, oh, okay.
Maniacally.
Maniacally laughing. And we continued to walk on, and we were like, I think Deanna turned to me first and she was like, is this piss? And I gave a quick sniff on the jacket there, and I was like, yeah, confirmed, this is piss. And then basically I had an extra sparkling water in the backpack. We cracked that bad boy open, we doused our eyes and washed off the face, and then we continued on.
Yeah, we had a little hoe bath together.
Exactly. Just a quick brief wash down.
A little rinse off.
From Trailer Park, Wicked Clowns are eternal, and the message is still relevant in 2025.
I can definitely see that, and I think this sense of family and belonging and acceptance, um, and just loving other people and sometimes also just being cuckoo bananas is always going to be eternal. I totally agree.
From
I think
Trailer Park.
oh, sorry.
Oh, no, please go on.
I think we haven't released it yet, but we have an entire chapter devoted to just the music and how people got into ICP, or how they, the entry point for them into being a juggalo. And for a lot of people, it seemed like an emotional release and excitement to have somebody else say what has been on their mind or just cycling around in their heads for a long time. And I'm sure that in and of itself is just a great feeling.
Ben B from the chat has an additional question. Were they well hydrated, or was it yellow? This is in regards to the piss and the super soaker, and I can promise
Surprisingly
you,
well hydrated. I was not.
yeah, it didn't. Yeah, I expected a stronger scent. You know what I mean? Like and like hydration. I don't know that it happens much at the gathering. I don't personally do it. Do you, Deanna?
As much as I can, but I was honestly impressed because it took us doing a full sniff test to
Oh, this
confirm the urine.
Trailer Park is 30 years old and he's been to 9 gatherings. Both of his
Wow.
parents were juggalos. Trailer Park, I'm very interested in this.
Yeah, that is super interesting. Did you go with your parents' trailer park to your first one?
Oh,
We
Deanna,
met
that's
and
looking gorgeous.
thank you. Well, I was like, oh man, I shouldn't have started like right at her armpit.
I can
um,
imagine that's like a haircut where I'm just like, I need to have my vision for the end of it.
yeah. We met another guy there. He had a full team. And he seemed super cool, and he had gone to the gathering before. His name's Brian. I got his Instagram, so I can put that link somewhere at some point. But he has been going to the gathering for multiple years now, and he tries to come up with a general theme for every time he goes to the gathering. And one of the themes that he had was intergenerational juggalos, like multiple family members all going together and taking portraits of them. And I thought that was a really interesting aspect to explore for further documentary stuff.
Is
To be
that
able to
Brian
interview.
Kirschheiser? Is that his name? The photographer?
Proper nouns, I'm telling you. Yeah.
Shout
Yeah,
out
he
to
is
Brian though. He
photography.
has been there every time. Like he's always I see him every year that I've gone. Trailer Park said he wasn't allowed to go until he was 15 years old. So did you then go at 15? And were your parents like, were they protective, or did they let you have like a gathering experience there? Like, can you cut loose at the gathering if you're going with the parents?
It depends on the parents, I would imagine, and how
Yeah.
loose you cut.
Yeah, exactly. I sometimes think about my mom at the gathering and whether or not she would like what her feelings on it would be. I think that she would do well there, honestly.
Yeah?
Hmm. Yeah, I think so.
In what way?
She loved listening to people. She's extremely good at it.
Would she enjoy? I feel like one of the things that we really didn't focus on that much, mostly because it was harder to take video from a huge crowd of people, but all of the sideshow acts that they had
Yes.
there. We did watch, what was the one that was all the men getting naked?
Yes, that was when we were in the tent. Was it the Mr. Juggalo? I have a clip from that.
Oh yeah,
Let's see.
Mr. Juggalo.
That was Moose.
And we did, oh yeah, Moose was up there.
We watched Moose get kicked in the nuts.
Uh-huh. And then we didn't know Moose yet at that point, but we met him because they were camped next to us. And I think they were all like just they sounded like they were having a really good time and playing some cards. And I think we just went over there and started chit-chatting. And they're all like, yeah, come on in and you can get on in on this game with us. And he had all these comics that he was using to barter with people. And I got like one of the coolest it's called like Elf Trek. And it heavily features like just elf booties in like a Spock like nature. It's like that is a great bartering chip that you have.
I know I love the side hustle as well. Like I there was one guy that was trying to sell me his like Waffle House night manager cap for like $20. And he's like, I got this after I worked at the Waffle House for 15 years. And I was like, I can't possibly buy this for $20. If it took you 15 years to earn it, that's insane. Like, don't you have like so many feelings attached to this hat? And he's like, I don't give a shit about my time at the Waffle House. But here, let's pull up Moose's clip here. I always enjoy
I would
him.
love to see that.
Mighty Moose, at your service, Juggalo Esquire. I trade comic books for blunts.
We saw you yesterday on stage. What was your talent?
My talent was getting kicked in the nuts and singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. My love, who kicked me in the nuts, she is a 4-time welterweight and featherweight kickboxing champion. I was hoping that it wouldn't give me a boner, but it did anyway. Welcome to the gathering of Juggalos 2023. I get less philosophical as I drink them. Less, more slur. Up, up! Hey!
I'm sorry, what?
Fucking love Moose.
Yeah, it was great
Absolutely
walking
adore
around with
Moose.
him.
He was perfect. And it was like we were like 4 minutes into the conversation with him, or maybe 10 minutes into the conversation with him before we were like, oh yeah, we saw you get kicked in the nuts on stage yesterday. I remember all about that now. I
Yeah,
recognize you.
it's all coming together now.
From
And there
Trailer
was
Park,
a,
he said, I guess they just knew it was a rowdy environment and wanted to be more mature for it, as far as not allowing him to go until he was 15. From Ben B, did you guys fully commit to the style while filming, or were you walking around as yourselves? We were walking around as ourselves, which is why we got called out as being, well, I personally got called out as being a cop a fair amount.
yeah, don't lump me in on that. Dan, I think like somebody had told him, Trailer Park actually told him that he looked like a Fed because he looked like he was walking with too much intention or had too much going on. Like there's not any place that you have to be as a juggalo. You can cool your jets. And I feel like the second year that we went together to film, we were mostly getting B-roll and we didn't have as many interviews that we had planned. So setting up for that, making sure we got all the questions in and nice lighting and it wasn't too loud, which is pretty hard when they're just constant fireworks and explosives happening.
Explosions that are happening in the background.
That would take a while. So I feel like this second year that we were there, we just had like less to do in that kind of very must get things done way. And Dan was called a fed a lot less. There was one day that, I mean, I will do makeup all the time at home and get wild. So I think the first year I didn't want to feel like I was infringing upon vibes or trying like a weird stolen valor kind of thing. And then the second year is like, I just dress up on like a Tuesday because it would be fun. Like, this is the last place I should be scared to like fully be myself. So I did do some juggalette makeup and that was really fun. And we ended up we had to go Dan, will you explain us taking them to the grocery store?
Oh yeah, for sure. It has become one of my like favorite things that we now do on a consistent basis is Can't Buy My Weed, which by the way, repping the merch today, as you can see. Again, shout out to Captain Kirk and John next door for printing out these wonderful
Oh, I
camp
forgot about
shirts
the
for
show.
last year. But basically it's now become sort of a tradition that like around like Thursday or Friday of the festival, because we have a car, we will go to the store with Boogie and Chance, both of whom we interview for the documentary. And just for some background, like Can't Buy My Weed is Captain Kirk and Bloody and Boogie and Chance and all of the folks that you see in the interview, like interviews, a fair amount of them are from Can't Buy My Weed. And we just sort of like met them and we interviewed them first. And then since then, they've become really good friends of ours. Like we really I personally enjoy, like, I love talking to them. I was chatting with Bloody as of like Tuesday of this week on Instagram. Shout out to Bloody the Clown, just absolutely love her. But anyway, we usually go to the store with Chance and with Boogie. And so we go on a grocery run the Friday of that festival and we go into the store. And it is always just a blast to take like that 10-minute ride and go out to the store with them. Is just so funny. And it always has me laughing so hard. This year, they like Deanna outed herself as having never known what corn was, or not having any clue as to what corn is. Just a heads up, I think we lost the art cam. We don't have an Instagram for this page, Trailer Park. We really should, honestly. I personally have an Instagram. I'm at Parduction, Parduction. You can come follow me there. I think you may already follow me, I'm pretty sure. I get up to my typical hijinks there, you know. Twitter, no, I don't do. I don't personally do Twitter. Deanna, do you have Twitter? Should we have Twitter? No, I don't think so either. Oh, unfortunately, I think we may have lost the sound on Deanna for a second. We'll work on getting that fixed for sure. LOL at the stolen valor. Stealing Jug Valor is crazy. Couldn't agree more, Trailer Park. Which, by the way, like we're no Jeffalos. Also, I feel like we did get called out in the first couple of years as being like I was always very friendly, but being like, "Are you here to gather, or what exactly is it that you're doing here? Like, are you press?" And honestly, like would struggle to answer that question myself sometimes. I'm like, I'm really not sure. Just know that I'm drawn back here every year and like want to come back and see what happens at the gathering of the Juggalos. Like that was just my impression from the first year that I went in. I was like, oh, I love this place and I love all of its chaos and its like really just like loud abrasive style, but also with that comes just like a lot of like tenderness and love and care that is there that you like feel once you walk in the door. And that's just always, it's always just like really taken me. So yeah. Used to get called out for it as far as like, "Oh, are you a cop or are you guys juggalos?" Yeah, to Deanna's point last year, not so many of those questions. I think we just started to fit in a lot more last year all of a sudden. Would you agree, Deanna? Do you think that we were fitting the aesthetic or we were, matching the moment?
I think we felt more comfortable, and we also just had friends there. Like, it was so nice to walk around and be like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And it's just so exciting to see each other. A lot of people who are they're super, super close friends. They've been going to the gathering for years and years, and that's potentially the only time that they have the ability to see each other. So it really does feel like a family gathering or a reunion, which was really lovely. But as for the makeup aspect, when we did go to the grocery store, that was the day that was like, I'm gonna, do my thing and get my clown makeup on. And we we got called out for vaping in the grocery store, like little
I forgot
heathens.
about that. I totally forgot about that. It's
We're
like
like
the only
mid
place
puff.
it's the only place I've ever been called out for vaping is like in that grocery store in Thornville, Ohio, where they're like, "Excuse me, but you two can't vape in
You
here.
cannot do
There's
that.
no vaping allowed."
Um, but there's like this lady, what did she say? She came up and was like, "Hey, are you here for the gathering?" I'm like,
Yeah, we were
"Oh,
talking to her. She was like, "Oh, are you here with the festival that's happening down at Legend Valley?" And we were like, "Yeah, we are. We've been there for the last week, and this is like my a couple of years going." And we were just chatting with her
no."
at first.
No, we had like a very small chit chat. I think she's like looking for something or doing something, and she like wandered off, and then we look at each other and we're like, we need to interview her. Like, she would be so interesting to talk to because she's like an older woman, maybe like in her late 40s, 50s.
I think so. Yeah, she was
I
like
think
mom age for
she
sure.
but a complete babe.
Yeah,
And just
exactly. Like we you and I both were like, that was a really attractive woman. Like when
yeah.
like we were like, let's go interview her. She's very good looking. And she
And
was really interesting. She lived there forever.
she had lived in the area. She said that she could hear the music from her house, and so we we're like, oh shit, we gotta go talk to her. Like, after like looking at each other for enough and being like, no, we gotta do this because we were not planning on interviewing anybody in the grocery store, and um, we went kind of running up on her and scared her a little bit on accident. Just like, hi, I'm sorry, we're back again, and oh, hi, and after we're talking for a while, one of the questions I asked was, "So how did you know that we're with ICP?" And she's like, "Well, your face."
We had both kind of blanked, I think, a little bit on the fact that you had the makeup on and we're
I
in full
totally
Juggalo
forgot.
face.
It's like, girl, you literally have it written all over you. But she was really cool. We don't have any of that footage in the documentary yet, but I feel like that would be a fun thing just to be able to post clips of, even if it isn't in the full.
Oh, she was great. She was great. I just don't think that I've like gotten those from you. I don't know why in the last like 6 months of hanging out that we never we haven't once exchanged those or airdrop those. But as soon as I get them, yeah, for sure. They're in the documentary. She's great. Um yeah, it was really interesting to talk to somebody that was like a local from Thornville there that had been there like and seen all sorts of festivals and all sorts of concerts that have gone through Legend Valley. Are you both juggalos or just observers of the culture? We're juggalos for sure. I don't want to speak for Deanna, but I would say myself I am indeed a juggalo. Like I do listen to the music. I don't delve so much into the deeper catalog of like other artists. I love the Ouija Mac show for sure. Like as far as like music goes, I have that was my first impression of the gathering was like that Friday night. It was Sir Mix-a-Lot and then Ouija Mac. And I was like, the Ouija Mac set was fucking amazing, like a great pit. I really enjoy seeing ICP live. Like I would say that the 2022 gathering was among like it was in my top 5 concerts, and I've been to a lot of concerts, and like I really have not really ever experienced anything like that before. And yeah, I would count myself as being a juggalo, you know, like I think the first year that we were there, somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody on stage was like, you know, if you're here and you're fucking with this, then you're a juggalo. And I was like, by those metrics, I would say that I am a juggalo. Like I was like, I do fucking love this for sure. I typically don't wear the face paint. I mean, like I have in my outside life, and I think I display like I have several years of like being in Juggalo, full Juggalo makeup and regalia for Halloween. Deanna can attest. It was actually this past year. I had so much grease paint on my face that it was really
Way
unhealthy.
too much. I was
It was way
concerned
too
too.
much. Yeah, it was. My skin couldn't breathe. But when at the festival or when traveling there and in that circle, like I don't typically do so just because I feel like I don't know. I've always felt like I'm just like a little bit more comfortable in my skin,
Stolen
and I think
valor.
yeah, well, a little bit like that too is like, you know, I think that that seems um like that's the old heads, you know, like that's people that are in it really paint their face and are really serious about it. And I, not that I'm not serious about it, but I don't know. For me personally, I think I just like I find that for what we like to do there, I get a little bit further with people if I just meet them as genuinely as humanly possible. So
Well, I think for you too, that's not your go-to kind of vibe. I feel like for me, I love dressing up. I have probably like 40 wigs for no reason just in my house. So for me, that is comfortable. But I can see for you, it would very much like it's not even about like that you don't feel like anybody of any age would be able to do that, or that um you know, you have to be so into all of the discography and everything to be able to paint your face. It's just that literally wouldn't be genuine to who you are as a person.
yeah, it just feels like to me, I don't know. I like to wear this face personally.
Well, it's like a face.
For as much as for as far as it's gotten me in this world, Deanna. Trailer Park would say, I will say the culture went through a shift in my personal subsect of Juggalo homies. I'm not a fan of the embracing the poor scrub mentality.
What is a
I'm
poor
sorry, Trailer
scrub
Park.
mentality?
Can you elaborate on the poor scrub mentality? What does that involve? Yeltsin says Ouija Mac is a huge part of the evolution of Juggalo culture in the last 6+ years, but a lot of old heads would disagree with me. I agree with you personally. Like, I think Ouija Mac, if I'm not mistaken, like last year at one point had like a single that was on like the top 5 or the top 10 in Spotify. Like, he's like
Oh wow.
yeah, it had like legit throw. And I personally like am a big fan of all of the content that he puts out. I think it's great. Like I think he's super funny, a really interesting guy. And I didn't even know the half of it. I mean, Bloody was talking me through it at the gathering last year, where she's like, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah, he's
Bloody
like
is a huge Ouija
she
Mac head.
she's a big supporter." Yeah, Boogie has that shirt of the two of them. It's with Ouija Mac and Bloody is in the foreground. But she was explaining to me about how he has like he's a vegan because he doesn't want to hurt animals and he really loves animals. And he's got that I believe, Deanna, remember how we saw like the ruby red um Cybertruck in the town, and we were like, that's got to belong to somebody. I believe that's Ouija Max.
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah, for me, I mean, I really love the concerts, and I feel like the music completely tr transforms at the concerts where, uh, you know, YouTube is not the medium that I know very well. This is the second time we've gone live on here, and I have not gone to like post anything or done much on here because it just feels overwhelming. I'm just a little old lady.
Wait, what is why is it more overwhelming than TikTok?
It's not more overwhelming, it's just a whole new platform, and I do love to learn new things, so I totally would, but I feel like I learned a lot on how TikTok works in general, and I can edit on there easily, and I understand what I'm allowed to post and not post and all of that. Um, but whenever I post any of our snippets from the gathering, they get taken down. And even like I love our little intro trailer video that you made. I think it really captures a lot of the energy of being at the gathering. Um, but in the background of that is one of, I think it's the Fago Armageddon set music, and it is just so good. And I've tried putting in the same songs in the background, like the full like licensed ones that you can put in, but it doesn't translate in the same way as hearing being at the concert. It's really fun and raw, and everybody else's voices and energy adding to the mix too. It's just legitimately good.
Oh yeah. Let's watch the trailer now, Deanna. I believe that's just me screaming. Oh my God. I love Fago Armageddon so much.
I
I'm
do too.
such a huge fan.
I was just thinking, I was trying to describe it to people on TikTok last night. They're not like, and they're the audience who just joined me for like painting and talking about potatoes or whatever random thing I talk about. But I was trying to explain Fago Armageddon to someone, and they were like, "Oh hell no!" So it's
I
definitely like certain folks are definitely gonna jive with it.
from that year that we did that, I have this like perfect sequence where like Kirk was pulling me up on stage, and at one point like everything goes to the right, and there's like four frames that are like the gimbal and my phone and my glasses are like all spread out on the floor at the gathering,
Oh
and I
my
was just
god.
like really quickly was like like grabbing at all of that stuff. But actually, if I'm remembering correctly, like my glasses fell on the ground, and then like three hands came out of nowhere
Yeah.
and like grabbed them and handed them back to me to make sure that they didn't get broken.
People were on it with the quickness, and everybody was so sweet. People were just handing out like water bottles on
Yeah.
stage to each other. It's such a good vibe up there. And it also reminded me, Dan, will you explain that one of the aspects of the documentary is us interviewing the Juggalos for Jesus?
Oh, yes, for sure. Yeah, we saw the Juggalos for Jesus bus when we were outside of the gathering as we were walking. And I think I saw it on the first day, and I was like, what is this? I didn't remember it from the year before. And yeah, we ended up talking with Carrie and Joe there, who both sort of run that small ministry, and they hand out water and t-shirts and anything else that people need to keep them comfortable, and provide a safe space for them. And we chatted with the both of them. Joe is he claims that he was a former juggalo, that he used to be, and is also a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. and he had sort of had like a moment of personal revelation, and he got clean, and he decided that the way that he was going to preach in his outreach through his faith in his church was going to be at the gathering of the Juggalos. And so he and his wife, who was not in any way affiliated with the culture, had nothing to do with it, started coming to the festival. I think they've been going there now for like 5 or 6 years. They get donations from their local community and their local church in order to provide food and water for people. And then, of course, preach the word. Very nice people. We did chat with them extensively. I thought that Carrie was like sort of a great outside explainer voice for a lot of things, and could sort of like she plays overall in the documentary sort of like the voice of the outsider, the person that can sort of pinpoint the culture, I think, from like a 500-foot view, is sort of like where her real strength is. And she just speaks so well and is very eloquent and really excellent. And we've had a couple of clips of her out so far. Definitely more to come in the next few chapters for sure.
Yeah, I think because she wasn't introduced to that culture at all, the music, any of it, until she was with Joe. And so I think she had an interesting point of view where she obviously had really thought out like what drew him to this music, what was his life like that he would go to the gathering. She had done enough like introspection about all of that it did serve as a really great um outsider looking in, and somebody that we could, through the documentary, bounce around questions through. And so she would be wondering something aloud, or she would um just make a great point of what she thought was the draw. And some of it, I didn't necessarily, you don't have to agree with every single aspect of what it is to understand what is helping them work through a really complex thought process.
I think for me too, it's like I do think that the gathering, and like Joe speaks to this a little bit later in the documentary too, about like that it lends itself to a lot of life-changing moments, and I think that they speak to that really well. And like that's something that I personally have seen happen there. It has happened to me personally in 2022, where I was just like really very strongly emotionally affected by what had happened there. And I think that Joe puts words to that really, really well. Here, let's take a look at their little intro clip.
My name is Joe Hamblin. I'm from Bradenton, Florida. We are Jesus Loves Juggalos.
To come and be able to serve people that they need water, they need sunscreen or whatever, and be able to just demonstrate the love of Jesus.
Are you a Juggalo?
No, sir.
You're not anymore. Did you used to be?
Yes, sir.
So I married somebody who used to be a Juggalo. He was like, you should come with me to the Gather of the Juggalos. I was like, a Gigolo? A what? Like, what is like no concept of the people or the culture or what I was getting myself into.
My name's
I like that clip. My mom told everybody when I was going there, she's like, Deanna's gonna go see the Gigolos.
Trailer Park says, I want to see Juggalos win and run the world. I love that revolutionary attitude, Trailer Park. I am 100% with you there. Have you ever made a Fago fly during a Fago Armageddon? Shake it up, get a grip off that Fago, spin the lid off, plug your Miggle figure in it, and watch that MF fly. I have not personally ever launched a Fago. I do remember at my first ICP show when I saw them in Baltimore in like 2018 or 2017, being amazed that was like such a it was an incredible aspect to a live performance that at any given moment you could just be absolutely domed by a 2 liter bottle of Fago that was coming at you at what felt like hypersonic speed. Like I enjoyed that immensely. Like I loved like ducking and getting out of the way of it. I've never personally launched one before, but Deanna, I think maybe we should make that a goal for this year.
I don't know. I don't want to maybe hurt anybody.
Well, that makes me wonder too, because like I noticed that they weren't doing it as much. Like ICP was not doing it as much during their sets last year in 2024. I don't know whether or not there was anything there. If they're just like not doing, I don't know. They seem to have replaced that with Fago cannons, which just fire loose streams of Fago out onto the audience,
Which
which
I love.
is really cool. I'm a big fan. I loved being up next to that thing for sure, and watching it launch into the crowd of people was amazing.
Yeah, and the packing list that you sent me, you're like, you're gonna need a poncho. And it's like, I don't care if it rains on me. Like, it's fine. I'll just get rainwater on me. You're like, no, for the Fago. And it's what? How much Fago are we talking? Did I need a
Oh,
poncho?
no.
There's a cannon.
You have to understand that it gets everywhere. I was prepared for, I think I was well prepared from that from having seen the show in Baltimore, which was so funny because like I went to the show in Baltimore because I was really, I, as for as long as I've been aware of pop culture, I have known that there was a group called the Insane Clown Posse that was a hip hop duo, and they were like killer psychopathic clowns, and they had fans called Juggalos. Like I don't even remember when I learned that. Like somewhere in watching MTV or listening to Howard Stern, one of their interviews on there, which were always amazing. But so I've had like a long fascination with Juggalos, and ended up going to a concert in Baltimore when I was living there. And I
What
went up
year
to the
is that?
door. That would have been like either like 20, I don't even know, like 2015, 2016. There's a post of it on my Instagram grid. It's like one of the only actual real photos on there that is not flamingos, is like the date of me going to ICP. Actually, let's look that up right now. But I was going to the show, and it was at the Baltimore Soundstage, which was like a little like a black box stage that was downtown there. And I was walking in the door, and the bouncer, that was in 2016, September 1st, 2016. The bouncer was like, he looked me up and down, and he was like, "Do you know what's going on in there tonight? Like, do you know what show this is?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm aware for sure. I know what I'm walking into." And when I walked in, the entire place was covered in plastic because I was like, "Oh, right, the Fago." But I was definitely not prepared in the way that I was like dressed in order to be like, "Oh, right, I'm getting doused with Fago tonight."
I don't know how I've never heard this story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was
And
your
that was
first
where,
Fago blast?
yeah, well, that was like my first time going to an ICP show. And I remember really being like I was there for all of the openers, and I was like very interested in all of the openers. I can't remember specifically who it was. Like I don't want to misquote or say anything. But I remember the music was like much more like sensitive in nature than I would have anticipated. Like there wasn't nearly as much bombast, and it was a lot of honestly to people talking about like openly about like trauma that they had experienced, was like a lot of the musicians and things.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, yeah, and I was like, oh whoa, that's not at all, that wasn't what I was expecting here. And then also I was just like, wow, the Juggalos are like insanely nice people. Like they were just all very, no one had a problem with me being there. There was like probably like me and like three other people there that I didn't know but were like me, that they were clearly like not of the scene. And yeah, I just remember like being like, oh yeah, like it's like all very chill here, like everybody seems like happy to have me there. There was this guy Les Legs, who I knew as a celebrity, that again, Howard Stern show. He's a guy that is in a wheelchair. I believe he has no legs, and he's like a big fan. So he was at the show, and he had already been, he'd gone like viral for some other thing at that point. So that was exciting. I got to see Les Legs.
That's really cool. How are people nice there? Like, what do you
It
remember
was,
about people?
I remember it being a lot like, so you have this, there are certain concerts that you go to, and like it's like big acts, like if you go to like a Dave Matthews Band show or you go to a Grateful Dead concert, like there's a fair amount of assholes that are there, and like when you're in like a large crowd of people, it sort of makes it apparent like who the assholes are, the people that are just like very selfishly motivated and like are there for their experience. And it gives you a gauge of that thing. And what I have found is in the juggalos and also in metal music as well, that fans are just insanely nice. Like they like do things, like they hold the door open for you if you're like when I was going to the bathroom in a metal club once, and the lead singer of I Hate God, who had like this huge crazy pit going, and it was one of the nuttier mosh pits I've ever seen. He had just come off stage and he like held the door open for me so that I could go in front of him in the bathroom. And he was like, "Oh, please, please, absolutely." Like he was like very courteous and like letting me through. It was
That's
very
so
interesting.
sweet.
Yeah, but like the Juggalos were like that too. It was just like a very like open and friendly atmosphere, and like people were conversational, and you would talk to them, and also like at a lot of times when you go to like concerts, like people are in their own space and they don't want to do anything. They don't. They're there to see the show, and you don't make a ton of buddies there. Like I have other bands that I've followed for years where I don't have like homies in the scene. But like with the Juggalos, it kind of immediately felt like, oh damn, like this is nice and is like a space that really is here for anybody who wants it. I only
I
know
think
Dave Matthews Band because they dumped all that crap on the on the
uh,
MFers on the boat. Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that that will probably go on that band's gravestone. Like I don't think that they could, if they could take us to Mars, that they would still be the band that had dumped shit all over people in Chicago.
I love
There's
that.
like a yearly celebration of it every year where people go
What?
down and yeah, there's on the specific bridge where it happened, like where
Oh my gosh.
they like unleashed the septic tank of their tour bus. And by the way, Deanna, Trailer Park says that painting is fresh.
Thank you.
The only pure subculture left, Trailer Park. I do agree with you, honestly. Like it is like one of the few untouched spaces in pop culture anymore. And like I remember having this conversation as well. This was with the our veterinarian vet. Oh my gosh, I just butchered that word, Deanna. Our veterinarian friend who we talked to about butterflies and octopus, if you'll remember him, with the guy with the trumpet.
I love him. Do you have that clip available?
I don't have it up yet. No, that'll be posted at a later date. I'm working on that
Okay.
one now. But that
I
one
love
is
that
one of
one
our
so
absolute
much.
favorites. Oh my God. We ended up talking to this guy for the longest time about animals, and he had a deep expert knowledge of animals. But he was also a really big fan of punk music. And he and I talked extensively about like, the Gathering is like one of the only places that still has any kind of like a punk ethos to it, like a punk mentality where you can actually go in and like someone will draw blood on you in the pit because like that's just the space. Or like the guy was like you could genuinely like get hurt here, and that's awesome. And I that is honestly kind of been my feeling too for a couple of years. Like yeah, it's pretty awesome that like it's can be life or death here for, or feel as though it is sometimes.
It can, but I also feel like a lot of the danger aspects were the one where a guy, I guess he took the fireworks, like a mortar, on and put it up in the air like this and lit it on fire, and it went spinning around in a circle and just shot into random tents. And like fireworks are dangerous, and mm, random projectiles are dangerous. Or we got there was one time we were walking and a guy was shooting Orbeez at people. Do you remember this?
I do remember this. Yes,
And
I
we're
do
walking
remember
by
this.
and we could hear it going off, and I was like, "Can you please not shoot me? Like I really don't want to have bruises, and that would hurt." And he was like, I couldn't even see him. Like we're talking basically into the darkness, and he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So you don't want me to shoot you with an Orby?" I was like, "No, I don't. I really don't want to be shot with an Orby right now." He's like, "Oh, okay. I can understand like why." And I was like, you know, like just if I consented to it, that'd be cool. But like, I personally would really rather not have that happen right now. It's like, I totally respect that, man. And we didn't get shot. And then like 2 seconds later, hear it go off. And he's just hitting the people behind us. Like, I feel like that's the kind of danger there. But like, when I'm just walking around by myself as like a woman at night and I'm in Atlanta and hanging out in the city, I feel like much more of a sense of danger all the time than walking around there at night. Like we split up a couple times throughout being at the festival. I think like the first night.
The very first night I lost you. That's how we
Yeah.
knew that Can't Buy My Weed were good people, is because I went back there and you were sitting in a chair and they were like, yeah, we have her. It's okay.
They gave me Cheez-Its.
Yeah.
But I feel like that kind of level of danger, I personally never felt there, and I feel like there is a Juggalo justicey vibe of, you know, just people will hear like if I feel like if I were to yell out into the crowd and be like, this person is like hurting me in any kind of way, people would immediately step in. And I have been in like truly physical situations in Atlanta. That's why I was on the news and called chompers on like Chiron. But
Hold
I've
on, wait.
been because I bit that guy and then I had to run through a crowd. I ran after the guy who attacked me through a crowd of like these super buff dudes all talking in a circle, literally split the circle running through them. And I was like, why are you even working? What are you doing? I feel like that kind of situation at the gathering, like people just truly have each other's backs in a genuine way.
Yeah, in a very, very real way. I also just love this clip. This is Captain Kirk. I would absolutely consider Captain Kirk to be a co-producer on this movie. He like really I can't say enough about him and just his enthusiasm. The second that he talked to us and he like knew what our intentions were and like what it is that we were looking to make and do, he was full bore in on like giving us and showing us the best Juggalo experience that we were possibly going to see. And like he wanted us to like see every awesome thing and everything of beauty that he saw there. And I would say that he was rather successful. So let's listen.
He was like such a good guide into that space, and we would not have met so many wonderful people or had the ability to talk to them as openly and genuinely if we didn't have him as an anchor
Yeah,
to say
exactly.
like these people they're nice, don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like he vouched for us a number of times and like
Yes.
yeah.
They grew up wanting the attention or wanting the friends, wanting the family, and they don't get that. The people that don't get that, they're the ones that when they come here, they realize they're being saved. They're realizing they got love. They're realizing this is where I was supposed to be.
Everybody's just happy right now. It's like, you know, if you don't have a home, this is your home. If you don't have a family, come here. We'll be your family.
Two of my absolute favorites there.
Love it so much.
Kirk and Mystic.
Both excellent humans.
Wonderful, wonderful people.
I feel like the idea of family we also get into during the documentary of just like what is family to people in general. And I think a big aspect of that is we would go back and ask people about their home life. What is your biological family life? What is it back home? And then when people would talk about their family at the gathering, it's like their eyes would light up in such a way, and all the words that they would use when they were describing their family at the gathering is what you want or what you actually think of the word family. It's like people protecting you, caring for you, feeling comfortable, feeling like you're home.
What color is that going to be on her top? Like, what are those?
Like
What's going
on
on here, Deanna?
here.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like a bikini thing, but all of this is going to get so much darker that these are actually going to be the brighter spots. So
Oh,
once I build out all the colors, this like bluey gray will look white when I have
okay.
the other colors next to it.
How many hours will you put into a painting like this, do you think?
It really depends. Sometimes I just like fuck around for a long time because it's fun. Like this one over here. Let me move it a little bit. And this one is going to be an oil painting. But I was just having too much fun. So it's all colored pencil. There we go. That one's all colored pencil. I'm just like, I could stop, but I'm having a good time. So it really just depends. I don't feel like I do it hourly, and then a lot of when I'm painting, I'm on a. I think I got some paint on me. When I'm painting, I'm usually doing it on a live or something. So half of the time, I'm just shit talking. I don't know if I can count that.
Perfect. Excellent. Do you feel like it do you feel like there's ever an end to something that you're working on? Or do you feel like you just say to yourself, this is done?
No, I've never thought this is done.
Yeah.
I
Right? It
feel
does that
like,
exist? Being done?
I mean, I wanted, people are asking for like prints of some of the stuff that I've been working on, so I have to be done. And it has this weird finality to it that gives me some level of anxiety where I'm like, I just want to go through every piece of it with like a fine tooth comb and make sure everything is perfect. But like, nothing is ever truly going to be exactly what you have in your head anyway. So at some point, it's like I just have to accept it being done, and so I can move on and do like more aspects of the creativity, which I also feel for the documentary for us, or we still have footage that we haven't even gone through because of whatever reason. We just got so much stuff the entire time. And I do feel like it kind of is a living document that as we grow and think about our experience and, you know, make new bonds with everybody, there's going to be aspects of it that will change and grow. I think that we would be able to put out what we have, and I would be really proud of it. And I would feel like, we did show the what we had at the last gathering, and I know that we were both nervous, and it wasn't as finished even as we would have wanted it to be. And we were also nervous about the reception because it was important to us to not completely sugarcoat things and not make it like, this is Disneyland, come on out to the gathering. Everyone would totally love this. Like, we we feel very positive and we loved our experience and we are juggalos. Um, but we did want to also showcase some of the sides that, even for me, like the getting sprayed with piss for me is it. You told me in advance that that might happen, and it did not stop me from going. But I think it's important that people know, like, kind of what they're getting into at the idea of going to the gathering, because it's quite possible you might not have a good time.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there have been like I can think of a couple of people last year that did not have a good time, admittedly on their own end. Yeah, I think that it can be a lot. Like I can think of a lot of people in my life where I'm like, you fit this very well. And like I think that you would totally fit in here. But what stops that is like, I think that if you have like an anxious personality, that it would be difficult to be like if you had like, sound issues and like being sound
Oh, you'd
overloaded,
be fucked.
it'd be really hard, right? It would be really, really difficult. Yeah. But when we
That
did
would be
stream the
hard.
docu
I think that would be hard. It could be hard, like even the logistics of it can be hard for people.
oh
Like
yeah.
we personally didn't camp there, but like I know a lot of people didn't have cars while they were there. That's why we ended up helping going to the grocery store and things, or they didn't have like a lot of places you can go and get food, but Juggalos also help with that and would just have little pop-ups of like hot dog stands and things of that nature. Um, I think there's a lot of things. The amount of Fago alone, like I'm averse to being sticky, so that was a thing for me.
Oh, but Deanna, as we learned with the juggalo, or I'm sorry,
Oh
with the
yeah,
diet Fago, you don't get sticky.
I definitely got sticky though.
I got a little sticky myself. It was the red pop night. Did me in.
Yeah, that dyed my. I wore like a little white knit beanie, and it is
Yes,
forever. It's like tie dyed.
exactly. Then B, I'm starting to think Deanna enjoyed the piss.
I just want to bring it all back to the piss.
It always goes back to the piss.
Well, I feel
But
like
no,
that was like the only like outside of when you go to a festival, that was the only thing that really like if I go to Bonnaroo, I wouldn't warn somebody else that there's going to be piss.
that's fair. Or that I think I had to fully warn you on like somebody is going to ask you if they can see your butthole. And you seemed unfazed, honestly.
I appreciated it.
Yeah, same.
There's
I think
only so
like
long people are gonna like actively want to see it before.
nobody even asks anymore. It's such a shame. I think the first time when I was there, it was the night before you got there in 2023. That like it was the opening night, and I was watching this guy. I think his name was Raphael or something of that nature. And he was standing on a corner and asking people to show their buttholes. And when people did, they would get so excited. Like this whole crew would be like, "Yeah, buttholes!" Like start like cheering and chanting and everything. And I was like, I was standing next to this girl, Leslie. Shout out to Juggalette Leslie. And I was standing next to her, and I was like, "Do you know him?" And she was like, "Yeah, for sure. He's a good friend of mine." And I was like, "Have you ever shown your butthole to him?" And she was like, "Yeah, absolutely. He's seen my butthole so many times." And so I was like, "Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna do that because, like, if ever there was an opportunity to just show my butthole to somebody, it's right here and now." And it seems like this is a really friendly atmosphere in which to do so. Everybody's like cheering, nobody's like jeering or judging you for the quality of your butthole. And so, yeah, it's about 10:30 at
Nobody's like
night.
getting all up in there, like
Oh, they shine a light on it. It gets spotlighted. Trust me, there are no lies that happen when you show somebody your butthole.
well, I just don't feel like there's not like a judgmental factor to the buttholeness. Where
Well,
does
I'm
that
always.
come from? What like do we know the origin story?
Oh, yes, we do actually. We have a clip of this. Let's
Because
see.
it's incredibly specific.
Oh, yes. It has like a pretty progressive um origin, if I do say so myself. Let's see.
We also got a clip. What was the duct tape ball named? Bertha?
Oh, that was Big Silva. That post just went out
Silva.
today. Yeah, Big Silva. Yeah, that is another piece of ICP lore that I really enjoy, which is the 20-year-old duct tape ball that they've been building for the entire tour and all like their whole career, like every town that they've gone to on tour, they always add a new roll of duct tape onto it, and it now weighs 1,100 pounds and needs like a forklift in
I
order to move it
crushed a
around.
can of soda in front of us.
Well, that was like a mini version of it. The real one is
Yeah, that was a
gigantic.
baby. That was Lil
Yeah,
Silva.
it was a little Silva. Here's the origin story of Show Me Your Butthole.
Taco Bell gift card. Show me your butthole. I will do so right now.
Where is the origin of Show Me Your Butthole?
Because people thought it was sexist to only ask females to see their boobs. They started saying, oh, everybody has an asshole, so we can ask everybody to see their asshole, and it's not offensive.
Show me your butthole. I will do so right now. If you seem really determined to walk away, you're gonna have to step a second. I got whole pants on, dude. Go for it. All right, come on down here. Let's go.
I love that.
Got to get excited about showing somebody your butthole.
How many times
Ben
did you
B
show your
says,
butthole?
probably under 5. I just wasn't asked that much. I did every time that I was asked. I would drop trow and be like, yeah, here you go. I wanted you to give me a tattoo on the inside. I wanted a Hatchet Man tattoo on the inside of my butt cheek, and then Deanna talked me out of it. She said it wouldn't look good.
It looked like a little piece of poop.
And nobody's going to see it
Like
except for
hanging
people that I'm
off.
flashing at the gathering.
Hmm.
Nobody sees my butthole except for juggalos
Yeah,
and
I'm
medical
more
professionals.
concerned. Why aren't people seeing your butthole that often?
I agree, but it's just not. It's not socially acceptable to go whipping it out. I would show it to people. Let's see. There was a thing that happened in 2011 with Tila Tequila that sparked Juggalos being more respectful of women. I do remember this story. It was that she was performing at the gathering, and I believe she got pelted with stuff, if I'm not mistaken. In Trailer Park, please do correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the crowd was very angry with Tila Tequila, which honestly, understandable. You're angry with Tila Tequila, but she then like I think people were throwing like bottles of piss at her and like firing like
Oh
rockets.
God.
I think she got like chased off the stage, if I'm not mistaken. Which somehow we have never seen there, but that happened with Riff Raff the year that we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And like Danny Brown as well, like just up and quit his set because he got doused and pissed. The Gathering in 2003 to 2010, you heard a lot of gay bashing and gay slurs. It's not like that anymore. Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
agree. Oh,
super open to whatever. I didn't hear or see anything at all like that
no, I don't see anything discriminatory
when
there.
I went. But I feel like also what was the year? 2010?
Yeah, 2003 to 2010.
I feel like that was such a stupid time where people would just like even use those words to describe something not good. Like
It was in the culture.
it was in the zeitgeist and didn't love that for anybody, but yeah, I didn't experience anything like that, at least
That's
in the
one of the
past
big
couple
things that I
years.
call out with non-juggalos, where because I think there are a lot of questions about the inclusivity of the place and like who is allowed to be there. And like one of my answers to that is that like Violent J like endorsed gay marriage and said that he was fine with gay juggalos like way before a lot of people did. Like I remember him giving an interview and been like, yeah, we used to say those kind of things in our music and we used to use those words, but since then I've like met gay juggalos and they are like in our scene and they're part of our family, and so like we can't in good conscience continue to like think that way. And so like yeah, he was very much like accepting and inclusive, and you always kind of feel that in the atmosphere there of like whoever you are, that's the place for you, or rather like you're fine to be whoever you want to be there.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's truly like a choose your own adventure story, The Gathering. Like I that's the best way that I can put it is you just end up going on these like crazy like 30-minute adventures where it's just like you go venturing off and you think you're following a thread of something and you're having a great conversation with somebody and then that ends and you just pick up another thread somewhere else and continue to go like you know, that's been my finding every time that I'm there. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like in this tent buying birthday cake from that guy.
Oh
I
my
think his
gosh, I
name was
forgot
Blue.
about that.
Remember? Yeah, those delicious cakes that were on the way to main
They were
stage.
so good.
He had like an orange creamsicle and like a lemon cake. The lemon cake was my personal favorite, and then he
Purchase's
had one that was
birthday.
like yes, yes, and then for Boogie's birthday as well because Boogie was like,
Yeah,
well, my
yeah.
birthday was like a week ago.
So true. And one of my favorite times is like, I think we had just interviewed someone, maybe missed it. No, maybe we ran into Alex in the field and we were both talking about like, we need to go charge our equipment and probably get some water and, get our shit together. And then we were like, well, there's the free Narcan tent. You went in and talked to the guy because you had met him, I think, the year before.
Yes, I had. That was the Juggalos in Recovery tent. Yeah, that's shout out to Frank at the Juggalos in Recovery tent. He was actually my first foray into like doing like an honest to goodness documentary at the gathering. And some backstory there is that like I'd taken some hallucinogens and I went to the ICP show and I had my mind blown and it was just such a huge emotional rush. Like it felt like being at the center of the sun, like standing underneath the pit for Fago Armageddon. And like afterwards, I think I was a little like forlorn and I didn't know where to go. And I remember that there was the Juggalo and Recovery tent that I had been to earlier in the day. And they had been great, like I don't drink. And so they were really celebratory of that. And they gave me like a 3 year and 6 month or then a 3 year and 9 month chip for that. And so I ended up back there and went to a recovery meeting at Juggalos in Recovery and truly like had I mean, it was just like an overwhelmingly emotional experience to go to do that, to be in a tent there with everyone, really just spilling open their pain, and me hearing a lot of echoes of my own life in that too. And the guy that was running the tent, his name was Frank, and someone had let me know he has the super long beard. He did a great job with running the meeting, and so I in going in that day, and that was before Deanna was even started joining me. I was just there by myself. I was like, I really want to try to interview somebody here today. I'd just like to talk to somebody on camera. And I ended up interviewing Frank for about 20 or 25 minutes and just had like a great conversation about like sobriety and the significance of Juggalo culture in his life and like what Juggalos stand for and who they are. And then like, larger questions about like life and loss and things like that. And that was really one of those experiences where I was just I was blown away by the openness of the place and really felt that like that place would welcome anyone who was willing to go there. And if I have been traveling around for years now, I keep all of my gathering wristbands on, so I have all my admissions bands from the last 3 years. And I also have a Hatchet Man pin on my backpack. And so I get like called out all over the place, like all over the country. People would be like, where did you get that? I love ICP. And I'm like, oh, I got it at the gathering. And they're like, oh, I've always wanted to go to the gathering. And my answer is always that, like, if you want to go to the gathering, then you absolutely should go to the gathering. Like, if it's in any way intriguing to you, then that's the place for you to go. And if it's calling to you, then go. And you will find something there incredible. And I believe that strongly. I just believe that to this day.
I totally agree. On that
Trailer
day
Park
that you
says, "Oh, please, I'm sorry, Deanna.
no,
I
you
keep
tell
stepping
me.
all over you."
You're good. On that day, that you went to go into the Narcan tent, I think I was standing outside and then Kirk came up and he's like, I think he had probably lost most of his voice at that point, so it was just like, and he was like, "Where's Deanna?" I told him you're in the tent. He's like, "All right, well, I'm about to go get a tattoo by my homie," and it's like, "Okay, okay." He's like, "You guys got to come with us." And we went out, like, it was like every step of the way. I think that's when we also met Alex, who wandered up and was like, "I've been fed so many drugs. Do you have any drugs to shoot me?" And he was just in his underwear and
With "feed me
had
drugs" scrawled across his chest.
he had a lot of people just writing all over him. And it's just every single person that ended up coming up to us, we're like, this is a new little side quest. And then we went up to somebody's their like camper area. We watched him get tattooed, and he was like, "Do you want to see me juggle?" And we're like, "Yes, we want to see you juggle."
And
It's
we had
just
such a
constant
nice little
moment.
conversation with him too about like creativity. Like, oh yeah, it's like, juggling reminds you that like you make mistakes when you're doing creative stuff. Like when you're trying something new, you'll make mistakes, but the whole thing is that you pick it back up and you just start over again. It's no big deal. And like, yeah, there's like little tiny bits of life philosophy that just like leak and seep all over the gathering. Like it's like
That's so
truly,
sweet.
yeah, it's so nice. Trailer Park says, I seen someone throw a hollowed out watermelon filled with turds at Tila Tequila's head.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that takes so much planning.
To fill a watermelon.
Like hollow it out, like very specific. Like, did you duct tape it back together after? Like, they did it like one of those Fabergé egg things.
I think that's probably like a hole in the top and then a big cork. Like a really
I
like a
think
bit like a cartoonishly sized
that
cork.
takes a lot of work
Oh
and
yeah,
a
it's
lot of
planning.
turds.
And ingenuity. I also
Truly.
this past year, because Camp by My Weed is directly across the street from Scrubs. Scrubs, I think, known widely is it was planned like weeks ahead of time. Okay, so it actually did take some coordination and planning. I'm so happy to hear that.
I'm sorry to
So
laugh.
there was the conspiracy to throw this dirt. I'm like, I want to meet that juggalo who went camp to camp and was like, "Hey, we've got a hollowed
I
out."
mean, I don't think anybody should ever have that done to them, but I do respect the work ethic because
Yeah, I admire the forethought.
yeah. Sorry, what were you saying about scrubs?
Oh, they camped directly down the street, and so we're sort of privy to all their hijinks. And at one point, in the middle of the road, hanging from a tree, they put up this pinata, and the pinata apparently was filled with human shit. And it was like they were just waiting for someone to
What?
come through.
Was
Yes,
I there?
yeah, yeah, you were, but I can't remember. You were there, yeah. You were sitting up on the rock, and yeah, filled with human shit. This pinata hanging from the tree,
I was
and I think
having
they
a
were
cute
just
little meditative rock moment, and there was human
exactly.
shit in a pinata right
There
next
was
to me.
there was shit in a pinata directly across the street, and I remember Chance was on his bullhorn, and some juggalo comes up and is like, "Oh yeah, fuck yeah, pinata! Like I'm taking this." And Chance was like, "You do not want to take the pinata, bro. Trust me when I tell you, you don't want the pinata."
Wow, did they take the pinata?
I think they did, yes. And then they just like threw it into the campsite. Shabby,
Great.
Shaggy Two Dope and Monoxide of Twisted came out without face paint and made the crowd stop throwing batteries and bottles at Tila. Holy shit. Shaggy said someone threw a quarter with razor blades taped around it. Holy
Oh my
shit.
gosh.
That is no fucking joke. My God. I remember a clip too of like, I think it was Yellow Wolf. And this was before I went. I think it was sometime in like 2017, 2018, and he was on stage and people were firing firecrackers at him and like bottle rockets, and he was getting really pissed off. But he was like, I think Danny Brown like left the stage during his set because he got so pissed. Yellow Wolf was just like on the stage and was like, "Fuck you guys!" Like I've got a gun in my it tucked into the back
Oh
waistband
my
of my pants,
gosh.
and I was like, "Yo, that is such a dangerous proposition to just say openly to the crowd, like I'm armed and I will shoot you." Like you talking to like a crew of
No
like a
kidding.
thousand people.
Yeah, that was wild.
I seen the Yellow Wolf firecracker. I thought he was dead.
Did he
That
get
to me,
hit?
that I think he did. Yeah, like I think he got struck by one. I don't know where I don't know where the Juggalos are sourcing their fireworks, but I do say amen because they are so serious. Like they're like
So
an
many fireworks.
absolute shotgun blast every time that they go off. They're like pro fireworks. It's amazing. I remember the before you showed up in 2024, I found the guy who had shoved or was convincing people to shove rubber ducks up their asses. His name was Tyler, and he was with the Shangside crew. They were the ones that ran the big pirate ship. And I remember I was like, "Oh my god, dude, I remember you." And he was like, "I remember you." And I was like, "Your name is Tyler, right?" And he's like, "Yes." And I was like, "I remember you had that guy Boof the Duck." And he was like, "Yeah, yeah." And he was like, "You remember me?" And I was like, "Tyler, like that was like top three moment of my life. Like it was like truly amazing." And I'm having this whole conversation with him, and we're like making direct eye contact. And right outside of the tent, a mortar goes off like a shotgun blast, like a 20 like a 12 gauge shotgun was fired like 4 feet away, and it goes boom. It goes up into the air, explodes like two shotgun blasts, and he and I never flinched. Like we never lost eye contact. Neither of us ever reacted to it at all. And I was like, "What is this place that just makes you so inured to like all of this sound?"
Just so used to it. I know that's what when I think there was a few times that a firework went off extremely close to us, like just landed on the ground, like right basically where I was standing, and you had just like scoop me out of the way. It's like, Dan, you are a real one. Thank you. You were like always aware.
Yeah, I try. I try. You got to stay on your toes.
It's
The
helpful for
first
me where I'm
year,
like, la, la, la.
the first year I was there before the ICP show started, some guy set off a mortar right behind me, and it went off in the air and
Oh
exploded.
my
I was like,
gosh.
"Holy shit!" And then I he knocked over the tube, and the next shell just like fell out on the ground, and I was looking at it with the fuse running down, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like it's like right at my ankles. So I start running to the fence, and I finally got over to the fence, and I gripped onto it, and I heard this huge explosion, felt heat on the back of my neck, heard people screaming, and I was like, "Whoa, that was fucking crazy and close." And then all of a sudden, I hear like boom, 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 and it's a repeater that's just like going off into the crowd, and I started like running away
What
from
is
the
a
pit.
repeater?
It's like multiple mortars that are in the same tube. So instead of having to
Okay.
feed each one down and light it, it's like you feed like a chain of like six of them down and you light it, and then they go off one at a time. And in this time, it was like since it was knocked over, it was just firing into the crowd, and
Oh
I
my
started
gosh.
like running, and like I went into like a full fight or flight mode where like I remember vividly like the eyes of and the faces of people around me were like blurring, like I was in like a supersonic mode in order to get out because there was like this like small like stampede that was happening in order to get out of the pit. It lasted for all of like 10 seconds, but I remember thinking like, "Holy shit, like that's that felt very very close to like a near death experience having
I
a firework go
know.
off of you in front of a crowd." Good times.
Good times.
Good times.
Good times, great oldies. Hey, not to be, I don't want to say this and then I'm just urine girl, but I do have to pee. So can you hold down
Oh,
the
you know the
fort?
chat's gonna go wild about that. Yes, of course. I'll hold court for a second.
Okay, thank you.
Just to recap. Oh wait, Deanna,
Yeah?
you're not taking your phone with you, right?
No, I'm not. I mean, we can do that if we
Yeah, no, let's not. So just to recap, my name is Dan. That's my creative partner, Deanna. We've been producing a documentary at the Gathering of the Juggalos for the last 3 years. It's called Juggalo Family Values, and it's premiering on this YouTube channel for about the last month or so. We are super excited to have people here and have people viewing this stuff and finally getting it in front of eyeballs and having a cool reaction from it. So far, Juggalos seem absolutely stoked on everything that we have to offer, and we have so much more coming too. That's the really important thing to remember, as we have just barely cracked the surface on this thing. Lots of interviews with your favorite characters. We've got Chance, we've got Bloody, we've got Kirk. We've got plenty more hijinks. We've got lots of musical performances coming at you. Yeah, it should be a rollicking good time. Um, yeah, take the phone. Ben B, you wild dog. Some other kind of stream entirely, I promise you. No pun intended. The pun was intended, actually. I meant like a urine stream. Yeah, the P was supposed to also, the stream was both for, you know, the live stream and then also a stream of urine. Lots of piss talk tonight. Lots of piss talk from the chat. And look, our numbers are absolutely spiking. The people are going wild for piss. Favorite flavor of Fago? I really like the Rocket Pop, personally. I was a big fan of that one. Favorite Joker's card? Mm, okay. Now, forgive me, Trailer Park, but I am going to pull something up just for quick reference. I want to make sure that I'm not getting this wrong. I think it's the Ringmaster, personally. Personally. Just overall, which somehow I like didn't get one good shot of any like ringmaster like merch or imagery or anything like that. um I wish that I was a little bit more versed in the Joker cards. I'm not going to lie to you, and the overall deeper mythology that's behind the music. I do really like that there's a very, very deep mythology that's there, but it's also, I just have not like delved deep enough into it, I suppose. One day we'll get there, though, I promise.
You had sent it to me because, wait, I have some of the cards that I made.
Oh yeah, it's Ringmaster for Trailer Park. All right, cool. So we're aligned. Awesome.
Where what?
He and I are simpatico.
Okay. I had made like a bunch of cards to give out to people.
Yes,
And
those are
black ribbons.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Did
I'm gonna
those
break them.
come with this year?
I think they came with, but I think I also forgot to leave a lot of them, but I did give them out to some people. Like I only brought some of them with me. But all of them were like black print little cutout guys.
I did really like your little block print. Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was nice. Because whenever you gave one of them to Bloody, right, for their kids.
I gave them
Yeah.
2 of them because I have 2 kids.
They do. Well, Deanna, should we be wrapping this up soon?
Like, you're gonna leave me?
Well, what's your thought?
I mean, I'll probably just go on TikTok live after this.
And do that.
So, I mean, you can leave me. But this was so much fun. And
Really enjoyed this to death, Deanna. I thought this was a lot of fun.
I know I could truly talk about our experience forever, and I just I'm so grateful forever that you invited me. I feel like at first, and I was like, you I remember you posting that you went to the gathering and you had put a bunch of video out on your Instagram that, and it all looked really great. Like specifically remember one of the Juggalo walking past the vending machine,
Yeah, I love that clip too.
and it just looks so good. And I do remember you having like a one-on-one conversation with what was your friend's name?
Frank.
With Frank. And I was like, wow, this is so great. And I had always had an interest in going, but I have an interest in going to a lot of things. So it's kind of like where there's an opportunity, I will eventually go. I was like, what the fuck, why didn't you invite me to go with you? And you're like, would you really go? And it's like, absolutely. And I remember you saying, um, you're the only woman that I would invite to the gathering, and I know that you will absolutely enjoy it. Like, this is, I don't have to sell you on this. You will 100% enjoy your time there. And I was like, all right, I'm down. And then I remember, like, even in the last couple of weeks leading up to it, you were like, wait, are you really coming with me?
I think I double checked with you like 4 times leading up to it, that like that
Yeah.
summer where when finally we sat down and had like a serious conversation, because you have to understand I had asked so many people to come with me to the gathering, like so many. I like when I thought that I was, when I got it in my
Before
mind
me?
that I, yeah, well, I mean, like when I
What
got it in my
the
mind
hell?
that I wanted to make a documentary there and I wanted to shoot something, I chatted with a lot of my homies that work in that field and are, directors of photography and cameramen and everything else. And I would be like, hey, come with me. I tried that with like 4 people, and like everybody said no. They were like, I just can't do it. Either they couldn't get the time off work. They were like, I can't convince my wife that that's a good idea, what have you. Like it was always like a very convincing, like they'd be like, I have children, I'm not going to do that. Deanna is the only one that sat there and not only said yes, but then was insistent over and over again that she was coming with me, despite like me giving the full rundown of like, someone's going to ask to see your butthole. Yeah, there's a possibility that you get sprayed with Fago and or piss. It's like, yeah, it can get kind of raucous and wild there. But then, of course, like, who else would I bring in there? That's why it fits so naturally.
Yeah, it worked out. And I feel like our dynamic together was really fun too. Like, I love the way that you interview, and you're really good at like stopping talking when they get to like a juicy bit where I'm like, yeah, tell me more. What? That's so crazy. So I feel like I learned a lot, and I feel like you gave me a lot of grace through figuring out that whole situation with like what we were doing, and I have really appreciated you allowing me to be part of the project.
Most definitely, Deanna. Most definitely. We're like a crew. We're a posse now. I couldn't imagine going there without you at this point. To quote Trailer Park from the chat, she a real one.
Oh, thank
She a
you.
real one. Um, all right, cool. This has been a lot of fun. I had a great time doing this tonight.
I had so much fun too. I love this.
Let's do it again soon.
Well, how
Uh,
often, Dan, do you think we're gonna be doing this?
I don't know, actually. We should probably chat about that. I can't imagine
Yeah.
I could, like, I can't imagine I could do this tomorrow night or for the weekend. But I would say every week I think we could do this twice.
Okay.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, I could talk about this for the rest of my life, so.
Oh, Deanna, thank you so much for being you. Do you want to give a shout out to where you're going to be going on TikTok after this? Or
Thank
are you still, you're
you.
not going to tell me your handle?
I'll tell you my handle just because I know you won't download TikTok, but it's I actually don't know. I think it's at Dumbaker. DUMBACRE. I think that's what I changed it a lot. What? That's where I'll be.
I love that. I love that, Dumbaker. So clever, so clever. Go check out Deanna. She's got more stamina for this kind of thing than I do. I should have eaten something before I sat down and done this. I'll be honest with you.
We gotta get that pub sub
It's
ready.
the lesson for next time is like carbo load, hydrate throughout the day. Don't spend the entire time trying to figure out. Don't spend the whole day
No,
stressing
you
out about
did
how to
so
figure out how
much
to
work.
stream.
You had so much work on your hands and you did so much. Thank you.
Of course, of course. I think it paid out. I thought this worked out pretty well.
You did. You did
Uh,
a great job.
Well, I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. Let's see. Who should we leave with? Let's leave with the rival. The rival
Yeah.
was like, this was before you got there, Deanna. I'm pretty sure he was the very first person that I interviewed in 2023. And he was just chilling out in the parking lot. He was selling cell phone plans. And the rival, who is from Massachusetts, shout out to the rival, of course. Go check him out on his social feeds. He's absolutely outstanding. This has been our the most views that we've gotten on any clip at all is from him freestyling here out in the parking lot. So let's take a look.
My name is Chris Palmerino, aka The Rival. I'm killing them all, head to the mall. Call me a kid, I still want to ball, don't want to fall, just want to make $1 million and spend it all. I'm sitting around and I'm going nuts. Gotta get out and start bonus sluts. Oh, yes. You have one more question, brother? Yeah. My name is
I love the last bit. I cannot for the life of me, I can't get rid of him being like, "Do you have one more question?" It just says so much.
So good.
It's so good. It's like it says
So
so
casual.
much. Being like, "You got one more question for me?" And like when I was interviewing him, I was like, I had my full backpack on. It was the first time I'd interviewed anybody, and I like have my gimbal. I'm sweating profusely. It's in like the heat of the day. And like afterwards, he was like, "Those were really good questions. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you." Great guy, the rival, as is
Yeah,
everybody
that's
that we meet
cool.
at the gathering. Um, Thank you so much if you did tune in. Deanna, thank you as always. A big whoop whoop. And we'll plan on seeing you next week. I'll be better about advertising and sending out some kind of like a notification. I promise. Bye.
Bye. I forgot how to get off of it too. Hold on one moment. Bye.